subscribe now and press the bell icon. Never miss an update.
We have something super exciting in store today, a Lucci OP10 and 11 guide going against Doflamingo, one of the strongest leaders, still in OP10 and probably will still be in OP11. So stay till the end of the video to see a deck list and kind of go over some combo moves and other important stuff. So let's get started. Lucci is still relatively strong. With Ice Age banned, he was a lot easier to play for sure. But now you kind of have to lean into other cards that have a lot more removal, like the 10 cost Kuzan, the Isho, and other cards. So you're playing a bit different, but Lucci is still relatively strong. So if people can adapt to this new playstyle, I think it'll do great. And then, obviously for our first turn, luckily we had a searcher. Now it's Dofi's turn, who's going to do hopefully a lot of searching, try to figure out what to put on top of his deck, hopefully use his ability, and make it a challenge for us. Typically, Dofi matches can be hard, but I think Lucci, especially with the amount of removals he has, I think he does relatively well. So let's just see. I think getting off an attack here, trying to get some cards out of hand, or getting life, I think would be pretty beneficial. And if you're a new Lucci player, always try to build your trash up to more than 10 if possible, just so you can use some of your cards that have trash requirements, especially with a lot of your CP cards that require you to delete, or bottom deck a certain amount of CP cards from your trash in order to use their effect. So early game, build up your trash size. Lucci is really great for that. And with our Brook, we didn't really have anything else to kill, so we just took away one of their 1 cost, which is kind of good in the Dofi match because they can play out of law, return to 1 cost, and just become a nuisance. So I'm kind of glad we got rid of that guy. And let's see what Dofi's gonna do. He does have 4 Dons. Okay, interesting. He's going in straight for attack. I was kind of expecting him to use his leader ability, but maybe he has something different in store for us. Oh, I see. He wanted to do something super sneaky. So he hated my Brook. He sent the Brook back just to make it harder for me to remove stuff in the future. I don't mind too much of it, but this was actually a smart play by him. Or her. Could be, who knows. Let's just go in, try to get some more cards out of hand. And let's also use our leader ability. Build our trash up. And he gives it to us. Interesting. So now he's at 4 life, we're at 5. And we can actually get rid of this guy, which is quite nice. Who to trash? Yeah, let's trash this Bandai. I don't think we need him. And now we've gotten rid of the law. One of the things you want to watch out for when you're fighting against leaders like Dofi is even without Jinbei, they can still flood the board. Not as easy as before, but they can still do it. So you have to be careful of that. Keep removing things from their board and just make them hard to do anything. And they, of course, put down the Teach, which you can send a card to the top of your deck. I suspect it's like a blocker or something like that. Maybe, the Boa. Or it could be, it probably is the Boa, I suspect. Because he wants to stay safe. He doesn't want to, get messed up too hard. But oh no, he didn't play the Boa. Okay, interesting. He wanted to draw that additional card. Still relatively strong. Dofi has one of the strongest leader abilities in the game. Especially with Blue, you're continuously doing deck manipulation. He puts on another searcher, so now he'll be able to stack his deck up again, so you can use future leader abilities. So we got to be careful here. And Lucci and Dofi games can typically go really long. There's a lot of back and forth, but I think we have a strong hand. We have some blockers. We have Brook still. We have Lucci. So we got plenty of removal power. And we just gotta be careful using them because it's not like the good old days of Ice Age. So we have 7 Dawn. What do we want to pull out here? And this is what I was talking about, is having enough cards in your trash to meet the requirements. So to use this card, we have to send 2 CP0 cards back to the bottom of your deck. Then we can do a -3, which is nice. And guess what? We have the Brook in hand still. So we can actually come in, take care of a 6k cost, or 6k power Weevil. And that just makes it really good for us. So we're going to keep using the leader ability. Just make sure our trash has enough things in there for us to take advantage later on. And now his Weevil is gone. And we can continue to put some more pressure on him. So attack with... Ooh, what do we want to do? Yep, go ahead, get the attack off. And again, getting cards out of hand taking a life. These are all worth doing, so keep pushing it. And we still have some good blockers, so if he starts coming for us even harder, we have some answers for him, which is really good. And now let's see what Dofi is going to do. It's always, again, I always get scared fighting against other leaders, but with Dofi, I try to be like extra cautious just because he is one tricky leader. He's very strong, has a lot of great cards. Typically, if you look at Dofi decks, they don't always have like 10 cost or super strong characters. They just have a lot of 4 cost, 5, and 6 that they can put down relatively quickly and really just get a lot of damage off. Yep, that's kind of what I was expecting. Teach puts the boa on top. You can put the boa down. When you put the boa down, you can also take a Rested Dawn, attach it to a character. So this is a good play here. And with Dofi as well too, he wants to try to keep my board as empty as possible. So I am glad that he kind of went and took out one of my characters. Like, we want this to be an interesting game. Now he's doing more searching, probably setting his deck up for next round. We get another Weevil. He gets another card in hand. So just look at his board already. It's already pretty full. He has a lot of meaningful stuff. He's manipulating his deck, so he knows what's coming up. This is why, like, Dofi is so tricky, but I still feel confident. We also have the new, not new, but the patchwork, which essentially gives a character -3 and also frees them. So typically, a lot of times, if you don't want to or you don't have the necessary removal, you can still use patchwork to give someone -3. And if they have 0 cost, you can freeze them for a turn, which is super duper impactful. So now the bow is frozen, which is really good for us. So next turn, we don't have to worry about her blocking us. We can put down a Rebecca, and then I love being able to put down a Rebecca, get, let's say, the Brook back if we need, or a Laboon. Laboon is great because you can play him right away and give someone -4, especially in a Dofi deck. Almost all your cards are -4 cost, so it's a really great setup. So just put some more pressure down here. I mean, in honesty, we probably didn't need to put down 2 blockers. I was just being a little extra cautious. In this case, what we could have done is put down the Rebecca, put down the Laboon, attack with the Brook, but at the same time, I want to be a bit more safe, just because I know Dofi has a lot of power in his deck, and I don't want to go from like 4 life down to like 2 or something relatively quickly. So I think that makes... Oh, he's got the other boa. This boa can essentially just freeze a character that's not Luffy, and they can't attack for the next turn. And it was actually really smart to freeze the Brook, because now Brook can't do his removal, which is like really, really annoying. But again, perfectly fine. I'm sure we'll find a way around it. This is why Lucci has other removals in his deck as well too, just to be able to deal with these types of situations. So here comes Lord Dofi. He's probably going to go ahead and attack us, put something else down from his deck, and just be such a nuisance to us. Oh, he gets another boa down. So annoying. And now he can give himself 8k or another character. Yep, goes in. Really not much we can do, but we're gonna block this. Man, I do hate losing my Rebecca, but you know, it is what it is. And what is he gonna do? He has 3 more Dons left. I assume he wants to get some attack off here, so we still have another Rebecca. We don't have too much counters in hand, nothing I really want to get rid of, so we do have to be careful here. Another big swing, and I'll just take that. Save our Rebecca for something else that might come our way. There we go, Tempest Kick. This is one of the reasons why you want to build your trash size up. Just because with Tempest Kick, you need 10 or more cards in your graveyard, your trash, to be able to get the -3, which is really strong. And now let's see if we can actually use Lucci. Do we have the cards? If we have the cards, we can actually get rid of both the boas, which will be really nice. The strong 6 cost boa and one of the blockers, which I think is really great. So let's come in here, give this baby, yep, there we go, -3. And then we can do -1 from our Lucci, which is great. Oh man, getting these combos off is always kind of nerve-wracking, because you're like, hey, I feel like I'm doing well, but it could change. And then we can use our Laboon to give the other boa -4, which makes it 2. And then the Lucci we have in hand can essentially KO a no cost and a 2 cost. So this should be more than perfect for us. So come in here, get rid of that. And then now we can come play the Lucci out. We have to bottom deck 3 CP0 cards. Typically in these situations, if you have events, use them first because you can't really bring back events. And boom, 2 of our boas that were kind of a headache has disappeared, which is great for us. And then we can come in here, put some more pressure on Dofi to see if I could have gone for... Actually, no, I couldn't have gone for anything. There's 6k. So I think this is good. He's down to 1 life. We have 3. He still has a blocker. So we are still relatively in a tricky place. I don't want to get overly confident because with Dofi, literally within 1 turn, everything can change. It is crazy to me that even with Jinbei ban... Oh, crap. He just put down... He can actually send a 6 cost, I believe, back to my hand, which is really powerful. I think he's going to do either the blocker or Brook, who's really annoying, but probably the blocker. Yep. Now I essentially have no blockers. He does have some strong characters on the board, so this is where he can try to go and go for some damage, but let's see what he does. That was actually a really smart play by him. Yep, and of course you want to take out the Laboon, just because Laboon's such a nuisance, but I still have the Rebecca's in hand, so I can bring back Laboon if necessary. Now we have Lord Dofi. Is he gonna do... Yep. Man, he's just out there emptying my board. But this is what a good Dofi player should be doing, which is really awesome. And now we have a Jack 2, which is really great. So essentially using the Jack, I can essentially, if I wanted to, put the Jack down, use what you call Lucci, one of his, or use his leader ability to give one of these characters -1, and then just really lay the smackdown on them. Let's see. Could put the Isho down. I am happy that I have all these options here. Use the Rebecca, get some Laboon back potentially. This is why, you know, Lucci is so great, because you can play out of trash. Rebecca does so well with this deck. Yep, put this guy down. Perfect. -4, and then we have our Brook, which is great. Brook is deadly if you let him stick around for too long. So now they just lost their blocker, which is like really unfortunate. And yeah, there we go. Okay, cool. I'm glad they have some counters. We don't want this game to end too quickly. And then what do we do here? Probably just going for some more pressure. I think some more pressure is the way to go. And we have 12 cards in trash. Yeah, I don't think we need to do more trashing. You can go a little overboard with Lucci and just trashing everything, so you got to be a little careful. And now, do I want to attack Weevil? Because he probably has the counters for Weevil. But let's try anyway. If we can get Weevil off the board, I think that's a positive. And of course, he counters out of it. Kind of what I expected, but at the same time, he has no life now. He's losing a lot of his counters. So this is kind of the desperate position that we want to put him into. And now he's obviously doing some searching. Hopefully he can use, you know, in hopes that he can use his leader ability. And maybe he's looking for more blockers. Maybe he's looking for a Gecko Moria, which can essentially get a blocker back from trash. But he needs to like do something smart here, or he's gonna get wiped out. So we do have to be careful, or he should be careful. I also have to be careful. But at the same time, I'm also happy that I have the Rebecca blocker. So if any shenanigans go on, we have something we can deal with. He could put down a law if he has it to bring, you know, put Rebecca back in hand. But I am curious to see what he does. Yes, he's going for the Laboon, which makes sense. And he puts down his blocker, which is smart as well, too. Laboon has just been a nuisance. Like, look at the amount of times I played Laboon this turn, comboed it with Brook. It's relatively strong still. Some people are running the 4-cost Kuzan instead of Laboon in Lucci, and I'm very confused by that. Just because with the Kuzan, you have to attack. So next turn, you can get the cost reduction. Laboon, you can use them right away, which is great. Oh, they're finally going for the Brook. Ugh, do I want to give it up? No, let's not give it up. This way, I feel like Weevil is going to be forced now to attack Brook because like they're fixated on Brook now. Brook essentially just had way too much value this game, and I feel like they're realizing it a little too late. But this is what happened, especially with people struggling to play Lucci these days. Like, people don't take Lucci as serious, and I think that's what makes him so deadly, because he is still a relatively strong deck. Obviously, Blackbeard is the best black deck, but I don't like Blackbeard's style. So if you're not a big fan of Blackbeard, I think Lucci is still a good contender. I think Smoker, it's a little bit harder to do, but still can be done. Cool, get rid of that 1 cost. And what else shenanigans can we do here? Putting down the Dressrosa Sabo, definitely good as well too. Now we have 2 blockers. Again, we could try to go and end the game right here, but I think being a little bit more safe doesn't really hurt, especially when we have the end state, the win, right in our peripheries. So we're almost there. Let's just be a bit more nuisance to him. See if he does. He probably doesn't want to use his last counter, so he gave up one of his blockers, which totally makes sense. And let's go in, see if we can get another blocker out of hand. So if we go for life, he's probably going to be forced to use his, there we go, his boa. Perfectly makes sense. And now he doesn't really have much here. So even though I could have gone for win, I kind of like this approach a little bit better. I think next turn we can definitely do it. And this is kind of what I was predicting. The Gecko, bring back the boa, play the boa, And this is what he has to do, because if he had no blockers, he's going to be done next turn. So I'm glad that we still have 2 more blockers. We still have our Lucci. So this is good stuff here. I would love to be able to end the game with Brook. If I could do that with Brook, it would be so great. Like, the way I would do it is I would have enough reduction on Boa and give all my Dons to Brook, where he can attack, take the Boa out so he has no more blocker, and win the game with that. I don't know if it's going to happen with that, just because they're probably going to target the Brook very heavily, but they want to try to empty my board as much as they can. And hopefully that, because they want to live for another turn. If they can survive another turn with me playing, then I think they can be in a decent place. I have 2 health. I don't have a lot of counters in hand. So I am in a relatively scary spot. But I think we can still pull off the win here. Please don't attack my Brook. Good. I feel like I'm fine just giving this up. Like, there's not much, they can do at this point. And boom, we can actually do the play that I talked about. So we're going to put down Tempest Kick, do a -3 on Boa. And then we can give the rest of our Dawn to Brook right here. And then Brook is going to kill Boa and then go for Dofi and win the game. This is the funniest win ever. I love it. They've hated Brook the entire game. And this is my chance to, there we go. Take out the Boa. He has no blocker. There's no counter in this world. It's gonna, and there you go. GG. So if you like playing Lucci, like, give this deck a try. So we'll go over the deck list. I think it's relatively strong, and it does pretty well. Like, the only real hard matchup we're going to have is Blackbeard, but who doesn't have a hard time against that? But either way, let's jump into the deck list, and let's see what makes this deck so powerful. Let's get into our Lucci deck list, and this deck list is pretty good for OP10 and OP11. I've been checking out both formats. I've also been taking a look at what people in like Asia's doing, and this deck list is very similar to them. In OP11, you don't really get anything huge or anything at all that really impacts his deck, so I think this is more than good enough. Give it a shot. You guys saw how well this deck did against Dofi. It does well against most leaders, so let's just dive straight into it. So your first one is going to be your Lucci leader. When attacking, you may trash the top 2 cards of your deck. Give one of your opponent's characters -1. This is super powerful, getting that additional removal. And as I mentioned during my game, there's a lot of cards in here that have requirements on either, bottom decking a certain amount of cards to be able to use an effect, or bottom decking a certain amount of CP0 characters to use an effect. So you always want to build up your trash side as much as you can, especially for like Tempest Kick, which is super strong. I would say typically when you get past like 12 things in trash, you don't have to use Lucci's leader ability as often. If you're doing it every single round, you're going to run out of your deck pretty quickly, so don't be in that position. So first up, we're going to have 2 Spandine, 1k counter, 3k cost. And essentially, the reason why I like to play him is you return 3 cards with CP in its name and play up to a cost 4 or lower character with CP type other than Spandine. So typically, you want to play him out and be able to reach in and get your Rob Lucci, which is pretty awesome. You could play other alternatives, but typically Spandine is for Lucci. I think 2 is more than enough. Before, Ice Age, I would have gone up to like 4 for this, but I think Spandine at 2 is pretty good. Next is going to be your Brook, 3 cost, 1k counter. On play and when attacking, give one of your opponents -1, and if they have 0 cost, KO them. He is super great at removal, super annoying, and if your opponent lets you keep, Brook on the board for too long, you're gonna have a bad time. So 4 of these definitely recommended. Next, we're going to have our Laboon. Laboon's great just because you can play him down and he can instantly do -4. So if you combine him with Brook, you can essentially KO someone for 6 cost. If you combine it with Lucci's ability, you can take someone out instantly for 7 cost. So 6 cost. So you got 4 here, you have 5 here, and then you have 6 here. So lots of removal. I like to run about 3 of these just because there's other tech in this deck I really love. But if you want, I can see like justification to go up to 4. Laboon, super strong, definitely play him. And I hear, or I can see his price dropping a bit more just because people are expecting like another reprint is coming out soon with Laboon. So totally makes sense. Rock 3. Next is going to be the Kuzan. Because you have lost Ice Age, you kind of have to lean into characters like Kuzan and Isho just to get their strong removals, which I think is a different way of playing the deck, but still relatively strong. So there's 10 cost Kuzan, 10k attack. Your turn, all of your characters get -5. That is crazy, or all of your opponent's characters. So everyone instantly getting -5, that is beyond wild, right? That's like a Ice Age on steroid. And then on play, if any of your opponent's characters have a cost of 0, you KO them. So super strong. I like to run about 3 of these. It is situational, but once you get Kuzan out, you're just slapping everybody. Next is going to be this Isho. It's kind of funny. I actually bought 2 copies of this before Ice Age was banned, just because I had a feeling that if Ice Age ever did get banned, that this card would come into play. So 8 cost, 9k attack, Dawn times 1. All of your opponents during your turn gets -3 cost. How crazy is that? That's wild. And then on play, if your opponent has 6 or more cards in their hand, trash 2 cards from opponent's hand, which is great again, just to reduce hand size. So running 2 of these is good. It's super situational, but like combine this with, let's say, Kuzan or Laboon, you're like taking anything out, which is crazy. Next, we have our Khalifa. I like to run about 4 of these. 4 cost. She's great for the 2k counter. And then on play, draw 2 cards, trash 2 cards, and then give up your opponent's -2 cost. So if you need some more draw power plus removal, using her ability is great. If not, having her as a 2k counter is great as well too. Next up, we're going to have our Searcher for the deck, which is going to be Spandine. I don't think you need too much searching in this deck because you have a lot of removal powers. You have a lot of cards that give you, minus removals. So I think running 3 Spandine is good. If you feel like you're not finding the pieces you need, then feel free to go up to 4, but I don't think it's needed. Next is going to be this Dressrosa Sabo. I think it's pretty cool. 5k cost. He's a blocker. And then on play, give all of your characters a shield to essentially ensure that they can't be KO'd by effects until the start of your next turn. Plus, you draw 2 cards, trash 2 cards. So he has a lot of good effects overall. I only like to run 1 of this just because Sabo is very, very situational. So I don't always play him out, but he is a good option to have in your deck, especially if you're going against other removal type decks. So 1 of these I think is good. Next is this Mancherry. I kind of like her as a soft blocker, and I'll explain why. So I like to run 2 of these. 1k counter, activate main, you give 1 Dawn. Rest this character, return 2 cards from trash to bottom of your deck in any order, and return a 3 to 5 cost black character, right? So look at that. Using this, you can get Rebecca back, you can get, Sabo back, you can get Brooke back, you can get Laboon back. Gives you a lot of options. In the moment she gets rested, people are going to target her just because her power is just too damn strong. So running 2 of these just to get some of your cards back, I think is great. Next is going to be Rebecca. Really love her. She is pretty awesome. 4 cost, 1k counter. She's a blocker on play. Return 1 black character other than Rebecca with a cost between 3 to 7. Again, another great way to get like Brooke back, Laboon, all the cards we talked about. And then you can play a cost 3 or less black character from your hand to your field rested. So this is really great to combo with Brooke. You can bring Brooke back, put them down, for free, rested, and then you can give your opponent -1, and then if they're at 0, you can KO them, which is really great. So run 4 of these. As you guys saw in the Dofi match, this will save your life and just make you a nuisance to your opponent. Next is going to be one of our strongest removals in this deck is the Lucci, 4 cost, 6k attack. On play, place up to 3 cards from trash to bottom of your deck in any order, and KO an opponent with a cost of 2, and then another opponent with a cost of, 1 or less, right? So that is really, really strong. You can take out 2 characters with Lucci. And as you guys saw in the Dofi game, we took out 2 Boas, right? So having this Lucci super powerful, run 4, and if you ever have any Luccis in trash, you can use Spendine to bring them right back. So super impactful. And now let's go to our next one. I like Kaku. This is a 4 cost 5k attack, 2k counter. And then on play, you can essentially bottom deck or from your trash, bottom deck 2 CP cards and give one of your opponents -3. Super strong. Running about 3 of these. And if you don't use the removal effect, the counter is pretty strong too. Next, we're going to do our Jack. 7 cost 8k attack. I love Jack because instantly this character has +4 cost. So it makes it really hard for anyone with removal to try and remove him. And then on top of that, you may rest this card, draw 1 card, trash 1 card, and KO up to one of your opponents with 3 cost or lower. So again, really strong removal, gives you a little bit of draw power. Rock 3 of these, and you'll have a great time. Next is going to be Who's Who, 2k counter, 5 cost, 5k attack. And then on play, discard 1 card from your hand, KO up to one of your opponents with 3 cost or lower. So 3 of these, really great. As you guys saw, we have so much removal in this deck, and that's why I love Lucci. So run 3. I don't think you need any more. Next is going to be Hina. 3 cost on play, give up to one of your opponent's characters -4, for the turn. And just 2 of these is more than enough. One of the themes you guys should be seeing is we're leaning a lot more into our character removal. We got Hina, we got Kaku, we got Kuzan, we got Isha, we got Laboon. So Ice Age was just way too OP that 1 card just instantly gave you -5 cost for 1 cost. That's ridiculous. So I'm glad they banned it. And let's talk about our last 3 cards. I like to keep 1 6 King Pistol in here. 0 cost. Counter, trash 1 card from your hand, and give your leader or character 3000 power. So you don't need this too often. So having just 1 of these for a surprise moment, I think is good. And then the trigger is draw 1 card, then KO up to one of your opponents with a cost of 1 or less. So really beneficial as well too. I think you only need 1. If you find you're dying too often and your 2k counters and blockers aren't helping, feel free to add another 6 King Pistol. And then we have the new Hot Couture Patchwork. Not new, but a lot more people are starting to use it. This is from OP10. 1 cost. Give one of your opponent's characters -3 during this turn. Then one of your opponent's character with a cost of 0 is instead active during the next refresh phase. I like how versatile this card is because you can use it to do removal. So give someone -3 and then use like Brook or Hoo to remove that card. But if you don't have removal, right, you can still use the second part of this ability, which essentially leaves the character rested. So I believe this was in the Dofi game. We actually used this on Boa. We didn't have anything to remove her, but she was at 0, right? And then she couldn't go active, so that means next turn she couldn't block, which is super strong for us. So run 2 of these. This has been working out really well for me, especially in other decks as well too. Really love this card. And then lastly, it's going to be your Tempest Kick. 1 cost, draw 1 card. After this, trash, if your trash has 10 or more, give one of your opponents 3 cost, which is, I think, pretty awesome. And the trigger is KO up to one of your opponents with 3 cost or lower. So this is the main reason why you want to build your trash size up, just because you want to meet the requirement of 10 or more, so you can give your opponent's character -3. And sometimes, if you're in a situation where you have Tempest Kick in your hand and you don't have anything else that's good, you can still play it out just to draw that 1 card. So if you play it out early, you don't have 10 or more in the trash, just playing it out to get the additional draw power sometimes can be worth it. So that is the deck list. Again, this deck list is pretty great for OP10 and 11. So if you learn this deck list well right now, learn new matchups, you're all set for the current game and especially the next booster pack as well too. So let me know what you guys think. I've been practicing a lot with Lucci. I love this guy, super strong, and I'm happy Black is not completely broken with Ice Age. But with that, I'll check you guys out later. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.